It's fantastic to see that Calgary's Mayor Jyoti Gondek has finally exposed herself, and her political career is probably coming to an end right now. I don't actually think that Gondek is going to respond to the calls for her to resign and leave office early, but I think that even if she attempted to run for re-election at this point, there is zero chance that she could be re-elected. I think that really what she did recently with this Hanukkah scandal is proven that she's not just a lady with bad policies, but with the heart of a tolerant idealist. She proved that she's a deeply petty and gross person who also happens to come with very, very bad policies. Her time as mayor has been horrific. The crime, the property taxes, the ridiculous calls for things like a climate emergency, killing the arena deal that we are about to close on just to try and prove a stupid environmental point. It's been awful. But now this whole Hanukkah scandal has really demonstrated that it's not just that she's a silly idealist or something like that. It's that she actually kind of has a bit of a black heart. She is not someone who actually is tolerant, sensitive, or understanding of other people. She is a hyper progressive who only understands people who already 100% agree with her. And this whole her trying to weasel out of a Hanukkah event based on the idea that the event has become political was just an excuse to basically try and serve her base, who is extremely anti-Israel. Basically what had happened here was that there was the menorah lighting ceremony that was going to take place at Calgary City Hall. Traditionally, the mayor can show up. I don't think that any politician should have to show up to any religious style event. It's not because you maybe shouldn't show up, but I don't really think politicians should have to show up. But the problem here is Gondek had gone previously, and that she wasn't just not going today because, hey, I'm busy, or hey, I can't make it, or I don't really want to come. No, she wasn't coming purely because the event was not anti-Israel, which is one of the most anti-Semitic things that you could possibly think of, that somehow this menorah lighting ceremony is somehow political because the Jews who are hosting it do not hate the only Jewish state on earth, that somehow it has become corrupted by the fact that the Jewish people do not hate Israel. That is completely ridiculous. I think that everyone knew what Gondek was saying was an excuse because she's fundamentally anti-Israel as a person. And I think that she sort of understands that her hyper progressive base in becoming mayor, her union base, because we've seen a lot of unions expose themselves as anti-Semitic, that they were going to basically roast her if she went to this event and took part in it as normal. So she had to find an excuse as to why this event, having a raffle on behalf of Israel, was too political. Even though this entire event that's been going on more than 30 years has done that in the past, she's using this now as an excuse to say that the event is unacceptable and I'm not showing up. Jyoti Gondek, I think, as a person, is one of those people who I think, as a progressive, doesn't have the political tact to hide what her views are. Nenshi, when he was mayor, was as hyper progressive and out of touch as Gondek was, but he could temper what he believed. Gondek is actually a very dangerous true believer. That's why she gotten herself into this mess, because she will basically say what she believes. Indirectly or directly, she does still say it. And in this whole Hanukkah fiasco, she basically demonstrated that she, in her sort of hierarchy of identity groups, thinks that somehow Jewish people are lesser than other Calgarians. And you're never going to have a conservative do this. Conservatives aren't from that equity frame of mind where we start ranking people based on what we think their position in sort of society is socioeconomically, or from some SJW frame of mind. Gondek just laid it all out on the table and basically just said Jews don't matter to me compared to Palestinians or something like that. That because I feel bad for Palestinians, which you can, it's Hamas's fault Palestinians are dying right now, but because she feels bad for Palestinians, that Jews don't get to have even just the slightest bit of ceremony in the city. She's not going to show up for that, because how dare Jews like the only Jewish state on earth? Gondek might have just co-signed her statement excusing why she wasn't there by just ending off with saying from the river to the sea. It was pretty ridiculous. But I just want to talk a little bit about the other things Gondek has done, because there's a reason that even before this happened, her approval rating was only 36%. And what we need to do in future to avoid more Jyoti Gondeks from getting into office. Now, one, her actual low ratings Sorry, way too late in the video. I'm not restarting because I coughed. But Gondek is one of those people, because I mentioned before, she's a true believer, did not hold herself back from putting all of her cards on the table of what she believes. So as soon as she entered office, she did the climate emergency declaration. She immediately started going softer on crime. She'd berate Calgary police for moving homeless encampments. She is someone who just does not hide her views and is smug about it at the same time. That's also what's made this Hanukkah thing so bad. It wasn't that she found an excuse not to go. It's that she is smug and she is better than you for not showing up. That she was disappointed in the organizers for making this political or whatever. It wasn't political at all, for one thing. But then she's also trying to stunt on everyone by basically saying, I'm a better person than you because I don't support the state of Israel. That was what made it gross. It's not that she just doesn't support the state of Israel or something like that. It's that she is a deeply more moral person than you because she doesn't think that Israel has a right to exist. And even today, after everyone's mad at her and it's very clear what she did was wrong, she's still coming up with new and I was going to say better, new and worse excuses as to why somehow the entire event was a big, con to try and basically bait her out and cause a scandal or something like that. That they put hidden messages into the posters that I was going to take political and I wasn't going to show up. She might as well call the organizers a bunch of crafty Jews trying to make me look bad. It's really disgusting. But if we don't want a Gondek in the future, what Calgarians have to do is we have to call out the progressives when they're running initially and not sort of feed into their idea that they're the tolerant, progressive person who just cares about everyone. All these candidates that the unions put up are always this kind of way. Nenchi's also a deeply unpleasant, nasty person. Gondek is too. If there's another progressive candidate in the next Calgary mayor race, they're also going to be a deeply nasty person. You got to call out the fact that they have this character flaw where they believe they are morally better people than you for what are very morally reprehensible positions they take against things like Israel, against things like the police, against things like actually enforcing drug laws. They're not good people. They actually have fairly disgusting views that need to be called out. Do not take these people at face value. This is where Jeremy Farkas fell on his face in the mayor's race. He let the media get to him saying that he was too disruptive, too divisive in council. And so as soon as he started running for mayor, he became boring because basically the media dared him to be boring. You should be more conciliatory and nice. So he was nice to Gondek when he should have pointed out that she was a defund the police person, that she has nasty views, that she is not someone who just is trying to build a more inclusive, loving society in Calgary. No, she wants a more inclusive society only for the people who share her views, and everyone else can basically go pack sand. She is not someone who should be running a city because she actually has no compassion for anyone else. Unless you are a carbon copy of Jyoti Gondek, she does not care about you. She attacks parents for not wanting drag queen story hours at their libraries they pay taxes for. She attacks people for actually wanting her to do her job in terms of the police. Remember when she wouldn't even answer Cian Bexley's question during the provincial election as to why the province had to basically come in and save her with more police resources, and why she voted against the police when she was on council? She won't do it because, again, she gets mad when people even just point out her record, because unless you love her record, you've done something wrong to her and you've been bullying. That's where all of her allies went after Cian for even asking those questions, as if he had done something wrong. Completely ridiculous. But conservatives also not only need to call out these progressives, they need to run a real conservative candidate. In the last mayoral elections, we've had people who are calling themselves the conservative candidate, but there's never a guy who is just a prominent enough character running for the mayor's office who is undoubtedly unapologetically conservative. We always have these apologetic conservatives running for mayor. 5 of them run, and we don't consolidate behind any one of them. It's not our fault for not consolidating. It's their fault for not being taking a very strong stand as a conservative, so that we can all identify the person we should get behind. That's where I don't really like this whole vote splitting narrative when it comes to federal politics or municipal politics. If we were splitting up our votes, it's probably because none of them particularly deserved the consolidation to happen. So this next mayor's race, Actual conservative needs to run for the mayor's office, and they need to not back off any of their conservative positions. If they push their conservative positions really hard, we'll all know who to support and we'll line up for them. That doesn't mean if some random fringe guy we've never heard of starts running and he has good conservative positions that we're going to vote for him. Obviously, you need a little bit of a profile, but if one person with a profile steps up with a good amount of money backing them and they actually take conservative positions, we can end the vote splitting issue. Anyways, that should be it for me today. You can donate to my legal fund in the description of this video. I have the Give Send Go link, the Give Send Go campaign linked there. I'm being sued by a billionaire, currently winning the lawsuit, but he's basically just trying to drag it out in court and cost me money. So any donation really helps. And then I'm also running for the Calgary Signal Hill Conservative Party nomination. So if you want to buy a conservative membership and vote for me, if you live in this riding, it really helps me out. Put me number 1 on your ballot if you're a conservative member. And other than that, I hope everyone has a great day and hope Gondek does resign early, but I'm not going to pretend that that's likely.